I'm having so much fun with Bakris this season that we are updating the Bakris build with the perfected version of it, a refined version, if you will. If you haven't already gone and gotten the catalyst for Graviton Spike, the only catalyst that I would recommend going and getting is the temporal alignment catalyst, as overcharging both arc and stasis modes grants a period of increased damage. This doesn't really say specifically when you have to do this. You have to do it back to back or at the same time. I'm pretty sure you can just trigger this by normal gameplay, which is you shoot your 3 shots and then you charge up the one mode and then you swap to the other one, charge it up, and boom, you have your temporal alignment. Now, there are so many different things that you can actually end up using Bakris with, and if you don't know what the main function of it is, it actually has some hidden stuff in here that we'll get to in a second. But while you have a stasis super equipped, your dodge becomes a longer range, faster moving shift that partially cloaks you during use. After shifting, your stasis and arc weapons gain a stacking damage bonus for a short time. Final blows with this bonus active refund class ability energy. It doesn't have to be arc or stasis final blows here to activate the refund. It can be any final blow, I think, as long as it's with a weapon. And then you don't have to use a stasis super, you can also use an arc super. So if you're feeling something different, you could use Storm's Edge. You could even go and use this on an arc subclass with Gathering Storm, or regular arc staff if you saw fit. But I do suggest Prismatic because there are a lot of fun combinations that you can end up using, and we'll get to that, of course, in a second. Actually, who am I kidding? We're gonna get to it right now. So the setup is still basic. Silence and Squall is a really solid add clear super, and that's majorly what this build is for. Again, if you wanted to do boss damage, I would suggest using Arc, because Gathering Storm does do a pretty decent amount of damage. Although I guess it's crashing some people's games right now. I mean, that's not surprising. But regardless of that, Silence and Squall will do just fine. We have, of course, Withering Blade, because that will play in with Winter Shroud, as slowing will briefly increase our class ability regen. This is not needed. I just like having the stasis synergy built in. You could, of course, slot in Ascension here, Stylish Executioner. If you're freaky and you want Gunpowder Gamble, go ahead. This is just what I like to slot in here. And then Grapple for movement. It's just simply the best grenade, maybe even in the game right now. Although it did get nerfed, I still think it's really solid, even if you just use it for movements, because this is mostly a weapon build anyway. And then, of course, Winter Shroud, as we mentioned. Threaded Spectre. You're going to be able to make so many clones. You can see the fit here is Clone Trooper-esque. I tried to make it look like that anyway. It's kind of hard with Bakris because it doesn't really accommodate any drip all that well. But let's get into the fragments here. We have Facet of Dawn to get a little bit of extra damage from Radiant. Facet of Mending because it will count for our grapple melee. So we have some healing in this build because it doesn't really have healing. Facet of Devotion because we're going to be throwing our shurikens. So if we defeat some targets with the debuff from that or from our dodge, we're going to get a little bit of bonus Light Transcendence energy. Facet of Blessing, again, to get that health regen from our melee kills. And then Facet of Protection to give us a little bit of protection because, you know, ideally you want to be dodging your enemies, but yeah, I mean, you don't have to. Weapon mods, I'll just kind of pause here and let you take a look. Take a gander, pause, and equip them, or whatever you see fit. But you can see here we have some siphons here. You could throw on Dynamo. I just have really low super with this build, so I'm not really too concerned about that. I'm just like, I want to make orbs. I'm going to make a ton of orbs so that I can pick them up and heal if I need to, or whatever I see fit. You can, of course, change this if you need to. It's not a big deal. And then, you know, make some more orbs with our melee. If we can, resist basically to whatever you're doing. For leg mods, you don't really need surges here because you're going to be getting that from Bakris. I'm trying to build into weapons as much as I can because this is mostly a weapon-based build, you're going to get your class ability back pretty fast, but that is the only other thing I would recommend building into. I think it's still bugged anyway, so it doesn't really matter. It's still scaling wrong. It's scaling in increments of 10 or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but don't worry too much about your class if it's not up where mine is or at all, at least for right now. Better already, again, because this build is bereft of healing, and honestly, at this point, we've put enough in it to where it's fine. Absolution to give us a little boost to our cooldowns, and then we have Utility Kickstart to kind of jumpstart our class ability anyway, so it'll take a little bit less kills with Bakris. Again, you wouldn't need this. You're going to be jumping around a lot, so Reaper is actually a really solid choice to continue making a ton of orbs. Powerful Attraction to suck up those orbs when you are dodging around like a fallen captain. And if you wanted to, you could run double Powerful Attraction to make sure your Vacuum has a bit of a wider range when you're dodging to scoop up those orbs. Which, tip, this also works for collectibles or like resources you pick up, anything that looks like a moat on the ground. Powerful Attraction will pick those up. So if you're in the sieve and you dodge near the dark moats or whatever they're called, you'll scoop up those moats when you dodge. It's a quick little tip there of the day. And then artifact mods, basically anything stasis related. You know, Graviton Spike is unstopped, so if you want to have some elemental effects when you stun and unstop, you have that. Radiant Shrapnel, for when you're dealing sustained damage, you're going to spawn that little radiant shrapnel thing that bounces around. Of course, Unstop Hand Cannon. You have the combined mods if you end up using Solar and Stasis or Solar and Strand for this build as well. And yeah, anything else that suits your fancy. It's not really that important what your mods are. I want to show a brief clip of just how many clones you can make in a short time if you have the proper amount of ads around you. Yeah, it's pretty fun. You can see why the drip is clone trooper themed, because you kind of have a clone army with you, but you know, it's like the poor man's clone trooper army. It's not as good as Radiant Dance Machines, but it's still there, and the fantasy of hopping around like a fallen captain is really fun. This is definitely my favorite hunter build. If you can't tell by the kill count I have on my Graviton Spike, I've barely taken it off, but of course you gotta switch it up to keep the gameplay interesting, as you know, you're just doing solo ops most likely to get that power level up. But yeah, that's the build. That's the Bakris Graviton Spike build perfected. I truly think this is a lot better than Winter Shroud with Stylish, because going invis is nice, but the clones have a lot more efficacy, at least I think so. They seem to be better in practice, taking the aggro off of you. It feels a little bit better in solo content, although in higher level difficulty, the clone's not going to take too much punishment, and you're going to take a lot more punishment as a result. So again, definitely not the best hunter build that's out there right now, but it's definitely a fun one. Anyways, enjoy this version of the build, and see you in the next one.